Now for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in a RISE analyst, Dr. Constance Ikwoku. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Good morning to you, Yolanda.
Good to see
in white
you.
Today.
Yes, matching
looking bright and shiny.
You need to see the rest of Yolanda's outfit.
Okay. We're doing outfits this morning.
Yeah, maybe later.
Okay. After the show, we'll look at that.
Sure.
Good morning to you, Charles.
Good morning, Dr. Constance.
How are you today?
Very fine, thank you.
Excellent. And to look at the papers with us today, we have a new guest. He is Doyum Nazenga. He is the Abuja Bureau Chief, Head of Northern Operations of Daily Times. Hello there and welcome to the program. We begin with this day.
All right.
Well, we have there PDP NEC, Tinubu's negligence, abdication of constitutional duties, Buoying, terrorism. Finally, the People's Democratic Party held its 99th National Executive Committee meeting, and they had quite a bit to say about the current state of affairs under President Bola Tinubu. The PDP, as far as is concerned today, the problems of Nigeria, challenges rather, are caused by the president's failure to effectively carry out his constitutional duties, especially with regard to terrorism. There were other issues. The party did not resolve its national secretary matter. A three-man committee comprising governors of Taraba, Enugu, and Zamfara were set up to engage with INEC on that. Also, Chief Bode George told the FCT minister, Mr. Nyesom Wike, who seems to have grown bigger than the party, that the PDP made him. In other words, humble yourself, Mr. Man. So a couple of other things coming out of that meeting, which was held at an alternative location since their party secretariat was sealed off. Doyum, your thoughts on the next meeting of the PDP?
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much. I think that the assertions by the PDP and accusing the president of getting his constitutional responsibilities and securing the lives of people, it's very timely, because if you look around, if you listen to the dailies or listen to news and take a look at what's happening within the security space and governance generally, everything seems not to be okay. And if for once the PDP, regardless of its current challenges and crises, seems to continue to linger, we still have, I mean, how do I put it? Would still come up to make such assertions. It means, I mean, so there's still some sanity still going on within the party. If you look around, I mean, if you look at what's happening, not too long ago, there were accusations of Nigeria drifting gradually to a one-party state. And if you look at those who have held sway or who have in the saddle of leadership of the PDP, including the recent composition of their board of trustees, their comments made, I mean, it doesn't really suggest that there is a very strong opposition that can hold the government accountable. So the call or the position they have taken, or their assertion accusing the president of abdicating his constitutional responsibility of providing security or securing the lives of Nigerians is timely. And I think the president needs to really, it's a wake-up call, as far as I'm concerned, for the president and the ruling of Progressive Congress to wake up to face squarely the issue of security, which seems to continue to linger. And rather than play politics around the whole thing, beyond looking at the whole thing through the prism of politics, I mean, because the reality is there with us. It's a stark reality that we must rise collectively and put up a unified front to confront the monster. I think I give kudos to the PDP for that call, and the president really needs to act and wake up and squarely face the issue of securing the lives of Nigerians.
All right, the president being told that he needs to do more. On to Daily Sun newspaper, Tinubu furious over stealing of recovered loot assets, reassures Nigerians on accountability. Yolanda, I can hear you there. According to the president, who was represented by Permanent Secretary, Political and Economic Affairs in the Office of the Secretary to the Government, Mr. Nadungu Gagari, asset recovery is a vital tool in anti-corruption. It is about restoring people's trust. This speech was delivered at the opening of a summit on asset recovery in Abuja. I mean, every time corruption or anti-corruption is spoken of in this government, it is hardly the president tackling it or talking about it directly. It's always someone commenting on it, you know, which may imply that it's not necessarily one of the primary focus of the government. Yet, it is a crucial matter that we have to deal with daily in this country. Your view on the story, Doyum?
Yeah, fine. The fact that the president is furious, it's reported that the president is furious about the stealing of recovered loot and assets, at least shows a level of concern and shows that he is deeply, really worried, regardless of an earlier perception in certain quarters. The issue of corruption, talking about corruption, it's very, very endemic. It has eaten very deep in the fabrics of the Nigerian state, and then governments before the current dispensation had come in on the mantra of anti-corruption and the rest of that, but then we still seem to have corruption continuing to, you know, grow into a bigger monster that, if care is not taken, will eventually consume the entire economy. How would you explain a situation where recovered loot and asset are still looted again? I mean, it's so suggests or shows that there's actually something wrong somewhere in the entire system. And the president's position is correct, is great, is commendable. At least it shows the leader, for once, let me put it that way, who has come out to express his displeasure or his fury against what would eventually spell doom if care is not taken. It's great that he has come up this way, and let's wait to see what becomes of his fury over the looting of recovered assets and funds.
You know, taking it from there, I think we have a problem of enforcement. We actually have fantastic ideas about how to curb corruption in our polity, whether it's looting, whether it's graft, in whatever form. Yes, our senior government officials would come out to make proclamations and issue threats, but then the problem now is that our law enforcement organizations, are they really empowered to enforce? Is our judiciary empowered to dispense justice so that it will act as a deterrent to those who are found wanting? Well, like Mr. Nazinga did say, we'll wait to see what the president's fury will produce. Let it not just be an impotent anger directed just inwards.
Yeah. Very good point. So we probably have to start with tackling money politics. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, money back politics. If you don't have money, you can't do nothing here. All right, let's move on to the Daily Times. 15-year, $500 million Nigeria Trust Fund, addition of grateful to the FG, gives account of 10 years stewardship at AFDB. This Nigeria Trust Fund was established in 1976 as a self-sustaining concessional facility to provide targeted support to economically vulnerable African countries. President of the African Development Bank, Akinwumi Adesina, is thanking the president for approving the replenishment of this facility and extending it for another an additional 15 years to support development financing across low-income countries in Africa. I mean, this is good news. Nigeria has always played a leading role politically and economically in Africa. Yolanda, I'm sure you know that. I mean, you're from Zimbabwe, but you know, this is a classic example of you know, what Nigeria does in terms of commitment in Africa. But most times it doesn't get credit enough on its leadership role, although it's been scaling back for some years now.
I agree, and I think the establishment of this trust fund kind of highlights the importance as well of international partnerships, you know, in addressing Nigeria's developmental challenges. I don't know, Charles, I had a question about this earlier, but I don't think you were able to answer this. How does this type of trust fund really just guarantee in terms of economic strategy for the future? This is the part that I don't understand.
You know, this is a contribution, or should I say donation, or commitment to the African Development Bank. And you know, it's not just for the benefit of Nigeria alone. It's actually supposed to benefit low-income African nations.
Right.
So it's Nigeria's commitment being the African big brother here. But you see, the good thing about this particular trust fund is that it is being managed by a highly responsible public servant who distinguished himself as a minister under Buhari and is still carrying the African Development Bank to what I describe as greater heights. So part of the accountability process is coming out to declare that this is what Nigeria has invested, and going forward, this and this and this. I think he did outline the plans for what that trust fund is meant to do in Africa, and that also includes electrifying the entire continent. Mr. Adesina is actually very, very passionate about electricity across Africa, and it's part of his stewardship that we've gotten to know that this is what Nigeria has done to support his institution.
Okay, I mean, it is actually being managed by the AFDB, not Akinwumi himself personally, because the AFDB is a very structured, properly set up bank. So let's just put that out there. But again,
and as the chief executive, as the driving force behind it.
Okay, let's see Vanguard newspaper. Debt heads for 180 trillion naira as Tinubu seeks fresh 34.15 trillion naira loans. FG's debt service to revenue deteriorates to 131%. Experts urge caution on borrowing. The president has sent separate letters to both chambers of the National Assembly seeking approval for what he described in, quote, prudent economic borrowing to close the financial shortfall, end of quote. The president will get or secure the approval he needs because he has a friendly National Assembly in both houses, so that's done, I think. But number two, the debt service to revenue ratio is a bit worrying at 31%, as we can see from this report. This ratio represents the portion of a country's revenue used to service its debt. A high ratio can indicate that a country is struggling to manage its debt obligations, potentially leading to strain or default. Earlier in the year, this ratio was expected to be 65%. Now we're talking about 131%. Again, financing challenge. Mr. Nazenga, if you want to come in here.
What we Nigerians on the average seem not to understand is the fact that we have continued to borrow, and the statistics out there suggest great performance on the economic front. What we don't understand as Nigerians is whether this truly the aims for these borrowings or what these funds being borrowed are tied to are actually being implemented. How does this affect the life of an average Nigerian on the streets? Because Nigerians still go through a lot on a daily basis. In the course of our work, we interact with Nigerians of all strata and cadres, and then we can be very sure that it's not yet a huru with Nigerians. Well, let's still give the government a chance. They have continued to borrow, and let's still trust that in their wisdom, it's truly to the advantage and gains of the generality of Nigerians, and not just a few.
All right. Okay. You know, lots of challenges there.
Well, it seems to be digging us into a deeper hole, if I may add. I mean,
quickly.
You know, at some point we actually had a very clean slate when we were able to obtain debt forgiveness. And now from the billions, we're actually entering the trillions. And so, I mean, very valid point there. What is being done with the funds being borrowed? Borrowed funds, looted funds, recovered assets, looted assets. So it seems as if we're going around in circles. Well, forgive me if I'm a bit cynical here.
All right. Let's move on to Daily Independent. Embark on restructuring in your third year, Afenifere tells Tinubu. That's age-old discourse on how to realign, reconstruct, or reshuffle the country. It's always been a core belief of Afenifere, the pan-Yoruba socio-political organization, that this is required for Nigeria to create an equitable society and a more balanced federation. I don't know, not sure if President Tinubu listens to Afenifere. Sometime last year, the organization was quoted as saying that the president is not one of them, that he masqueraded as one, excuse me, in 1999, but since 2003, he has done nothing but to try to divide and neutralize Afenifere, especially in the Southwest politics. And I mean, this is true, because in Southwest politics today, it's Jagaban politics. If you are not on the Jagaban train, then you're out on the code. You can ask Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, who is the former governor of Osun State, about that. But on the important point of reorganizing the country, do you think, Charles, that Afenifere and the president can find a middle ground here? I mean, this is vital.
I think the president has outgrown Afenifere. He used Afenifere when it served his purpose. That was while he was the governor of Lagos State, and he needed the pan-Yoruba organization behind him. But at some point, there was a split when he left AD, which was actually believed to be the Afenifere party, to strike out on his own politically. Now he is the president of Nigeria. Yes, he does need the backing of his own constituency. Very important indeed, and sometimes it verges on ethnicity. But now he does have bigger problems to contend with. So there is a limit to what Afenifere can do to help his political journey. But at this point, they do need to find a common ground. However they do it, well, they have been on this journey together, so I'm very sure they can go back to the old ways, back to what used to hold them together, devoid of politics.
I mean, he is in charge of Southwest politics now. I mean, there is also that underlying tension about who is the true descendant of Chief Awolowo's politics. Is it Afenifere? Is it Tinubu now? I mean, Afenifere asserts itself as, you know, the true progeny of Chief Obafemi Awolowo. But yeah, Southwest politics has changed, and it's changing more and more. Let's go to the international headlines. Daily Graphic, 2 years after VAT, Ghana Revenue Authority slow to sign on businesses. Electronic value added tax invoicing system was introduced to streamline tax compliance and curb leakages. However, many businesses continue to operate outside the system, says this report. Onto Citizen newspaper, Starlink deal threatens government of national unity. Again, Yolanda, I'll bring you in here. As we can see, the fallout of President Cyril Ramaphosa's visit to the U.S. is immense and is spreading within the government. In fact, Elon Musk's interest seems to be tearing the government apart, as more MPs are reported to be heaping more calls on Communications Minister Soli Malatsi, asking if a foreign company is now dictating South African policy. Your thought on this?
And indeed, they should continue to heap those calls, because sincerely, we're talking about Starlink, but at the same time, there's completely an undertone of Elon Musk. That's all that's being discussed here, just with the guise of Starlink. I think South Africa needs to hold strong to its laws. It needs to make sure that nobody comes in and tries to bully their way around, because having such a company of such immense propensity has a lot of ramifications on the country as well, in terms of taxes and many other things. Are those things that Elon Musk is going to abide to? You know, there's so much to look into when it comes to this. And I think what is the impact on governance as well when it comes to this issue? Yesterday we were speaking about, just because you're wealthy and you can throw your weight around does not mean that you are exempted from certain laws. South Africa should crack down and make sure they do the right thing.
And let's remember what they're talking about. This particular law requires companies to have 30% ownership for historically disadvantaged groups in the country. So it's more of a local content. You know, we have that in Nigeria too, trying to right the wrongs of the past. All right, Daily Star this morning, police arrest man 53 for attempted murder. A KOP parade driver was on drugs. So the driver that ran into the public during that parade in Liverpool was not a terrorist. It was a lone incident, and it's now been reported, or it has been established, that he was high on drugs. Then onto the Times newspaper, King defends sovereignty of Canada. King Charles has issued a powerful speech in defense of Canada's sovereignty in light of President Donald Trump's remarks, wanting Canada to become the 51st state of America. In fact, King Charles reinforced the fact that Canada is not for sale. Mr. Nazenga, I don't know if you want to come in here. I mean, should Donald Trump be even taken seriously on this matter? I mean, aren't we paying too much attention to it? I mean, he just talks.
Yeah, I personally also not paid very particular attention to it, but I'm not sure he should be taken seriously on this. I mean, we've been able to understand his kind of person over time, and having followed him very closely. And so there are some things that comes up, and one doesn't really, personally, I don't necessarily bother to take it very seriously. So I think this is just one of those issues that I wouldn't bother to take very seriously.
Come to think of it, Canada and the United Kingdom still have that connection.
Yes.
Sometimes it seems as if Canada, much like Australia, still bears some allegiance to the crown.
Of course, they
Yes,
do.
of
Exactly.
course.
So,
Absolutely.
Donald Trump trying to take over Canada, or talking about taking over Canada, actually places him directly on collision course with the UK, and therefore it's more like an oblique warning to Donald Trump from King Charles that you attempt to take over Canada and you'll be losing a major ally in Europe. So no one is actually taking that seriously.
I mean, America is the rebel, or was the rebel. Canada and Australia are still loyal, you know. Anyway, we'll have to leave it there. Mr. Doyum Nazenga, Abuja Bureau Chief, Head of Northern Operations of Daily Times. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
And thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for leading today's newspaper review. And for us, that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
And I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Bye-bye.